Some actors perform every script exactly the same way, which is fascinating because sitcoms and crime dramas are not emotionally identical species. Today, we're talking about musicality, genre, rhythm, and why the script itself may already be telling you how to act. This is Casting Actors Cast.
Casting actors, cast what a show. With Jeffrey Dreisbach, we're ready to go. From agents to gigs, learn what you lack. Tune in every week, we're bringing you back.
Well, hello everyone, and welcome to Casting Actors Cast. I'm Jeff Dreisbach, and today we're discussing something, well, I think actors often underestimate this, and that's the musicality of the writing. Okay, now before anyone gets nervous, this is not a music theory class. No one is about to play the clarinet. Although, honestly, some auditions do feel like experimental jazz. What I mean by musicality is rhythm, pacing, interruption, tone, language pattern, genre energy. Great actors hear the writing, and when they do, their performances suddenly fit the world of the project. We're going to discuss all of that, but first, this is that moment of the conversation. I get to say thank you so much for tuning into Casting Actors Cast. I'm having a great time presenting this information to you. My only desire in presenting these podcasts is to help you feel more confident and more comfortable about your journey and about your choices that are available to you as an actor. And so we can go back hundreds of episodes here on the podcast. But if you're just joining us, I'm so grateful that you're here. Hey, listen, I want to encourage you to check out my website. It's castingactorscast, all one word.com. And there you're going to find additional information about past episodes. You'll also see a little form there that says dive into the talent pool. And if you do that, that's going to open up a whole bunch of freebies for you. One is a book on doing voiceover work that I wrote called Conversation Pieces Out of the Studio, the voiceover workshop for professional actors. It's absolutely free by just filling out that form. Also, there is a video that I put together a little while ago, but still holds a lot of great information, I think, and that is Casting Secrets, what they don't tell you. But I am definitely going to tell you in this very interesting and compelling 20-minute video. Again, that's also absolutely free to you. Also on the website, I have my course that's available. I have a book that's available. You can look at past episodes. I also have a blog called Jeff's Jots. I know, I love alliteration. And what that is a corresponding show notes to each of my episodes. So if you found an episode really interesting or something that I said that might be something you want to kind of hang on to, you can certainly go to the corresponding Jeff's Jots, print that out, and now you have the blog. So I'm trying to put all of this together in a very easy to understand, comprehensive format. Again, with the goal in mind of being more confident about your work as an actor. That's exactly why I'm doing this. The only thing I ask in return, honestly, is if you could leave me a thumbs up, a subscribe to the channel, a like, any of that stuff. We're on every podcast provider. Spotify actually has the video as well as YouTube. So the Broadway Podcast Network is literally the site that is hosting the podcast. And you should check out the Broadway Podcast Network as well. All right, finally, my good friends at Actors Connection, actorsconnection.com/New York. You might want to check out the offerings they have available. Lots of really good stuff there. All right, enough of that. Let's jump into this. And we're going to kind of open up the box, so to speak, because every genre has its own rhythm. It really does. One of the things I teach in my workshops and in classes, I ask the students to kind of come up with the mood of the scene. So I'll hand out a film or a television scene and I say, now, what mood does this kind of give you when you read through it? And then, of course, the answers vary greatly from, oh, this feels dark, or this feels energized, or this feels really, really a funny mood. This is very conversational. So, whatever the mood is of that particular piece is something to really hang on to. Now, that is not specifically genre. How do we get to the genre? This is actually what I do in class, no kidding, is I will kind of play. The best way I could describe this is called drop the needle. And that is literally, I play a piece of music, just an instrumental piece of music, and see if that scene fits with that music. It's as if there is a soundtrack to the scene. Now, you might be surprised to find out what that does is alter the performance. The energy of the music actually fills the actor with a desire to really embrace what that music is giving you. Plus, that's also really great key to finding and making new discoveries in each and every scene. Something to think about. So playing drop the needle, that's the old-fashioned record player where you kind of have the arm and then you drop the needle in a certain spot on the record. Okay, you're all too young to remember any of this, I guess. But in any case, it was really kind of a fun thing that you would get some immediate kind of emotional impact from the music that you're playing. Something to consider. See what that mood is and see if you can find music that matches it. That might open up a whole world of new interpretive discoveries for yourself. But let me talk about auditions for just a minute. And one of the fastest ways actors sabotage auditions is by performing every genre with the exact same emotional temperature. It's true. In other words, Hallmark movie played like a Scandinavian grief cinema. Sitcom played like a courtroom drama. Procedural played like community theater Shakespeare. You know what? Genre matters because genre shapes the pace, the energy, the stakes, the silence, the behavior, and the writing usually tells you that immediately. So look for that in the writing. For example, let's take a look at sitcom timing. A comedy especially requires musicality. Comedy lives in timing, pace, interruption, rhythm shifts, commitment. And here's the danger. Actors often pause too much in comedy. They think, I need to show the joke. No, the joke is often already in the writing, so you just need to trust it. A sitcom pause that lasts 4 seconds, well, that feels like a hostage negotiation. Speed often creates comedy. Unexpected commitment creates comedy. Truth creates comedy. Now, let's compare that to procedural television. Procedurals usually require, precision, clarity, grounded stakes, efficiency. And acting in procedural shows rarely wander emotionally for 6 pages. They're solving something. They're solving something efficiently, which means the acting rhythm changes. The language becomes functional, and actors must honor that specific pace. So if that opportunity presents itself for you, please consider all of those options that are available to you within the genre. So I like to do these occasional reality checks and what I call real casting room truth. And here's one. Actors who understand genre instantly stand out. Why? Because they feel like they belong inside the project. Does that make sense? You know what I'm talking about. And those actors who ignore genre often feel disconnected from the material, like they wandered in from another television show entirely. We're going to talk about the writing that is telling you things. And we're going to do all of that right after this brief message. Now, listen, this is important. Writers give actors clues constantly. So let's take a look at some of the clues that you might have if you've got an audition scene or you're actually booked and you're going to be working on a scene. First, I want you to look at sentence length, then punctuation, then interruptions, then repetition, and then finally vocabulary. All of that, all of those contain behavioral information. Fast, fragmented language, urgency. Long, thoughtful language, reflection. Interruptions, that equals pressure. Comedy repetition, that equals rhythm. You see, the writing already contains the music, and then great actors hear it. That's where life sneaks in. That's where surprise happens. And honestly, casting directors can feel this almost immediately. We might not consciously say, ah, yes, excellent behavioral pursuit, but we absolutely feel it when somebody is genuinely engaged versus emotionally presenting. One feels alive, one feels manufactured. And this is the beautiful part of this whole process. When actors stop chasing emotion, they often become more emotional, ironically, because the emotion finally arrives organically, unexpectedly, truthfully, sometimes quietly, sometimes explosively, sometimes not at all. And all of that is valid because the goal is not emotional display. The goal is human pursuit under pressure. That's acting. That's behavior. And honestly, that's where performances start becoming unforgettable. And this is where acting starts becoming almost musical, not musical theater, musical, human musicality, rhythm, tempo, cadence, pressure, release. Because great acting is not just what am I feeling? No, it's how is this moment moving? And honestly, this is one of the biggest missing conversations in actor training. Actors study psychology, objectives, subtext, backstory. Well, that's all useful. Believe me, it is. But many actors completely ignore rhythm, which is really ironic because audiences feel rhythm immediately. Think about comedy. Comedy is rhythm. A joke said half a second too early? Oh my gosh, it's dead. Half a second too late? Dead. Same words, different timing, different result. That's musicality. But dramatic acting has rhythm too. Procedurals have rhythm. Sitcoms have rhythm. Independent film has rhythm. Soap operas have rhythm. Hallmark movies have rhythm. Everything has a pulse. And one of the reasons actors struggle with auditions is because they're emotionally truthful, but rhythmically wrong. Now, that's a massive distinction. You can be believable and still not fit the show because the performance is operating in the wrong musical universe. Okay, here's what I mean. Take a procedural drama. Now, there, the rhythm tends to be compressed, efficient, direct. People speak because they need information. The energy moves forward. Even emotional scenes still carry urgency underneath. Now, compare that to independent film. Independent film often lives in observation. Silence matters more. Thought matters more. Behavior unfolds more slowly. The pauses breathe differently. Now, compare that to sitcom rhythm. Sitcoms often require acceleration. They require faster pickups, cleaner transitions, sharper pivots, not bigger acting necessarily, faster relational movement. The energy rebounds quickly. That's why actors sometimes feel off in comedy. They're emotionally committed, but they're rhythmically sitting in the scene too long. And I can tell you that casting feels it immediately. The actor isn't wrong. They're in the wrong tempo. And I'd like to share something I think is really fascinating. Great actors understand rhythm instinctively. They do. Uh, Come on, watch Meryl Streep. Watch how she changes tempo depending on genre. Or Bryan Cranston, for example, or Viola Davis, or Steve Carell. They don't just change emotion, they change musicality, pacing, pressure, breath, interruption, stillness, attack. That's why they feel so genre specific and believable. And newer actors sometimes make this mistake. They think truth is enough. But professional acting is truth inside a format. Okay, somebody write that down. That was really good. Professional acting is truth inside a format. Listen, that's the job because television has architecture, genre has architecture. And once you start seeing rhythm, you can never unsee it. For example, some actors rush emotional moments because they're nervous. I understand that. That was sort of what I did. Others over pause because they want the scene to feel important. But real musicality isn't about random pauses, it's about behavioral timing. When does the thought land? When does the interruption happen? When does the energy shift? When does someone avoid or attack or deflect or collapse or recover? That's musical. And honestly, one of the best things actors can do is to stop watching scenes for emotion and start watching for tempo changes. Watch when the scene speeds up. Watch when it suddenly becomes still. Watch how tension changes the rhythm, because tension changes speech. Fear speeds people up. Or I should say, fear speeds some people up. And then, of course, shame slows others down. Power changes pacing. Confidence changes breath. Need changes rhythm. And here's where auditions become dangerous. Actors often rehearse scenes at one emotional tempo. Everything becomes evenly intense, evenly dramatic, evenly emotional. But great performances have dynamic range. They shift gears. Those gear changes are incredible. Pitch, pace, pause, punctuation. A scene without rhythm changes feels flat, even if the acting is emotionally truthful. It's like music played on one note. And this is especially important for self tapes because the camera magnifies rhythm. You can literally see rushed thinking. You can see anticipation. You can see when an actor is waiting for, quote, their moment, end quote. But you can also see spontaneity. You can see listening. You can see behavioral interruption. That's why some self tapes feel alive immediately. They move like real thought, not rehearsed emotional presentation. And here's the truly advanced part of this: the best actors understand the rhythm of the other character also. Now the scene becomes interactive music, not line readings, not emotional posing. Behavioral exchange, pressure and response, attack and retreat, control and surrender. That's why chemistry exists. Chemistry is often rhythmic compatibility, two actors affecting each other in real time. And once actors begin understanding musicality, their auditions change dramatically because suddenly they stop performing scenes and they start riding the pulse of human behavior inside the genre. That's where professional level acting begins. All right, the musicality does create believability. See, when actors fight the rhythm of the material, the performance absolutely feels artificial. But when actors ride the language, everything relaxes. Work begins breathing naturally, and suddenly comedy lands better. Drama deepens. Pacing improves. Scenes feel alive. That's absolutely true. So, if you have a script, finding the musicality and the genre, and if you're not sure how to do that, look at the sentence structure. Look at the scene overall. And if that doesn't really help you, look at what's playing. Find similar genres that are playing so that you can really hear the musicality of the dialogue. All right, now as is my wont, let's move on to a quick exercise. I want you to take any script. Maybe it's a scene you've done in class, or maybe it's a scene you might be auditioning for soon. Maybe you're ready to go and do a self-tape. Yay! If all of that is possible, I want you to read it out loud, and I don't want you to do any acting. As you read it, I want you simply to pay focused attention on the pace, the rhythm, the interruption of the dialogue, sentence flow. Now ask, what kind of world does this language live in? See, that question alone may completely change your choices. Now, I give you these exercises almost every podcast episode. There's always a little bit of a challenge put before you. This one is of particular importance. And I can tell you that firsthand. Recently teaching at conservatory, I had the experience of talking about genre. And what was clear to me was the challenge was that the actors did not really have enough experience in each of those genres to fully understand and appreciate the mood, the atmosphere, the musicality that's needed. So make sure you have a really good, deep understanding because that is so informative. And in my mind, that builds an incredible foundation for you, especially in an audition where you're looking for those things that can help you feel more comfortable and more confident and more prepared. So that exercise that I just gave you is something I highly recommend. And listen, if you have the opportunity, why don't you send me an email? Let me know what your experience was. And of course, as always, if you have any questions, that's always really, really great, and I would appreciate that. So let's kind of wrap this up, I think, right? Are we ready? Just remember that the script is not your enemy. No, it's not. It's your scene partner. And the more actors understand musicality and genre, the more believable and connected their performances become. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope that was helpful. I had a lot of fun presenting this episode. And I'm Jeff Dreisbach. This is Casting Actors Cast. I want you to keep listening, keep exploring, and maybe stop doing emotional funeral pauses in romantic comedies. Your sitcom career will appreciate it. I'll see you next time.
From monologues to screen test.